Hello!
Hey.
Hi guys! It is day 65 of lockdown. It's May 24th and I've snapped. um, yeah, bit of a bad mental health day today. This isn't a good start, is it?
Oh, perhaps.
It's fine. It's just overflowing. It's all a bit bonkers. So, yeah, maybe you need to talk for a bit.
It's been a weird afternoon. We've none of us had. I said to Ellie earlier. You know, as much as we'd all love to be able to go to the pub and go out to work and do all these things, I actually feel very lucky being in this house with Ellie and the pets. And even though we've had to be at home a lot, I've never, we've been stuck at home. I've never felt trapped until probably this afternoon. And that's not because of this here.
Oh, that would be a shit way to break that to me.
I've never felt that until this
this
afternoon.
happened.
And then this one's been a grateful afternoon. Come on, guys! I can't even sod off down the pub.
No, just
it's not
yeah.
that. But it's just feeling a bit caged up and feeling like I can't go anywhere. I can't go.
Yeah, I
think we're Ellie, if anything, but can't go to the pub or go to the shops or the cinema. Just
needed a bit of escapism today, and I think just just nothing massive, but I think just tensions boiled over, and I actually overall I think I've done pretty well mental health wise through all of this, because actually other than a few little like anxiety wobbles, which I think all of this is quite fair to be anxious about, really. Other than like a few wobbles here and there, I've been okay. I think today just had a little bit of a sort of last straw moment and just had a proper cry. Couldn't really breathe. Really fun. And again, it's like with these things, with mental health things, it's not really about what's actually caused it. It's about the feelings that are happening underneath it, and it's not logical necessarily. But today I just had a bit of a moment where a little thing triggered it, but then a barrage of intrusive thoughts and panicked thoughts and ideas about terrible things happening just keep coming. And then it was a bad one. But the fact that it's day 65 and it's the first time I've had one of those, it's pretty good. But I need to stop crying now. But basically, if you're complaining that I haven't done my face, fuck you.
We haven't had a row, by the way. It sounds like we've had a row.
No.
We've not had a row.
No, we haven't.
It wasn't that. We've just both had tough afternoons, kind of. Well, not even separately, but like we've had rough afternoons. I was quite looking forward to plans for the day, and nothing has quite gone to plan today, and it's just one of those ones where it should be fine. It's not a big deal, but I just wasn't in the right headspace to deal with that, and it just all got a bit overwhelming, what we're being stuck.
Yeah, and I just sort of had a bit of a situation where I couldn't really help a friend who's going through something quite shit, and felt a bit sort of helpless and again a bit trapped, and just sort of feeling the weight of lockdown. And I think with all of this happening, it's all little things, but they all build, and they carry some weight. And then with the backdrop to all of this being the fucking Dominic Cummings saga,
I guess
I think maybe maybe that's caused this to sort of bubble up, because like there's a fair amount of rage that I'm dealing with about that, because whole thing is fucking ridiculous.
Well, I guess the two things kind of tie in a way, because that's part of the reason why the Dominic Cummings thing is so frustrating, is that, like you were saying, you were trying to help a friend, couldn't really offer as much help and support as you'd like to, and part of that is you can't just say, come over, we'll have a drink, come over, I'll give you a hug.
I'll come over to you and let's just take your mind off it, or I'll help you with some other stuff so that you can have a little, just cry, and you can just do a bit of self-care, and I can take care of the things you need taken care of.
You can't offer to do something, but you can't offer someone even a hug.
Yeah.
And it's, and there are people who've made bigger sacrifices.
Of course, I don't want it to seem sorry, just because this is an emotional one, I don't want it to seem like I'm being all like, oh, poor me, because it's not. It's just can't once the tears start, they're quite hard to stop. So they just need to explode, and then I'll be fine tomorrow.
The point is that like everyone's been making sacrifices, big and small, and some people have made sacrifices like not going to funerals of loved ones. People have been dying without their loved ones around them. People have been missing out on birthdays and things. And so when you find out that kind of one of the people notionally in charge of all this has just been flouting those rules, it is emotive, because people feel like, what have we been making sacrifices for? Then if you're one of the people who thinks, well, do you know what, all this lockdown is a bit much, and they've gone a bit overboard, and it's not as serious as all this, but I'm going along with the rules because it's the law, you're going to think this is very unfair.
Yeah.
If, like us, you do think like, well, the lockdown is a good thing for the safety of everyone, then you're going to think this is very dangerous and unfair. So there's no one surely can be happy about this. And I saw a quote Billy Bragg said today. He was saying that the Prime Minister has said that Dominic Cummings was just following the instincts of any parent.
Just following orders, was he?
But he wasn't though. That's the thing.
No, I just like to compare him to a Nazi.
He is, but he was just saying that Dominic Cummings is just following the instincts of any parent. And the thing is,
no, because that's saying that other people who are parents who haven't done what he's done are bad parents.
Well, Billy Bragg was saying the whole point about these restrictions about lockdown has meant a lot of people, for the good of everyone, have had to fight their best instincts and not visit family and friends and not do things for themselves and for their loved ones for the greater good. And they're fighting, and I realise that by quoting Billy Bragg, I mean, I'm automatically a lefty liberal wanker, but he has a point.
They already knew that about us anyway.
But he has a point, doesn't he? Tell me he's wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to pause this a second because Lucy's whining to be let out, and she'll probably so dog break. Dog pause, undone.
I didn't realise you'd resumed it then.
Yeah.
I could have been doing anything.
Well, I told you.
I could have been using racial slurs. I wouldn't. I don't use racial slurs. Why would I?
It would be a very strange time to start.
Yeah. I was just thinking what.
Well, everybody's venting their frustrations in certain ways, but I think I draw the line there, Babs.
I was just thinking what would be the least appropriate thing to do, but obviously.
I don't know. I don't know. You could have just been
sometimes
quietly punching me or something like that would have been fairly inappropriate. Quietly as well.
Quietly.
Yeah, quietly.
Sinister. Listen, I don't know why. I mean, it's never good to be punching your girlfriend, but on or off film. But it's even some say even more sinister if I'm doing it quietly. It's sort of very calculated, something like that, isn't it?
Wow. Yeah. It's always the quiet ones to
watch.
watch.
Iron fist in a velvet glove.
Yeah, that's very un-you, but yeah, I don't know why I'm accusing you of it.
Or have iron fist, if I'm being honest. Quite weak wrists.
Yeah, fairly cut to ribbons by cats, mainly.
Yeah.
So I think, the backdrop of what's going on sort of politically, when things are just feeling a bit heightened and stuff. So interestingly, though, the thing that's happened today, which I'm sure anyone who watches this is probably, like, even if you're deliberately not watching the news and not really paying attention, it will have cropped up on most people's Facebook feeds because of the amount of rage that there is from a lot of corners about this. But old Boris finally showed up to work, not to save the day, to dig the grave deeper. He turned up, said he didn't do anything wrong. I stand by him 100%. What a good egg he is. By the way, I'm opening schools on the 1st of June. Doodles! And yeah. Oh, absolute fucking travesty.
What? Private schools as well?
Oh, no.
No. Private not the schools his kids would go to.
However many of them there are.
Most of Eton is Boris Johnson's kids.
Yeah, well, he doesn't dilly-dally with the working class because the children of working class single mothers are illegitimate and ill-raised and bad people. I'm slightly misquoting him, but I think what he actually said was worse, so look it up. So the fact that Boris Johnson has backed him, essentially, right, there's so many things that I think about this. Firstly, there is let's go with the pet. Let's go with the pet. Oh, God. Right, pausing the door.
Sorry,
That's
guys.
Probably a curry delivery.
Racial slurs. I haven't been doing racial slurs. We've just had a really professional curry break, haven't we?
Yeah.
We stopped what we were doing.
Yeah, we ordered a curry,
takeaway,
sat down to record the blog because we thought, well, easily it's going to be at least half an hour. And it turned up 10 minutes later. Like, they must have made and delivered that. Well, they made and delivered that curry in about 25 minutes.
Suspicious.
Yeah, it was very nice though.
No, it was nice, and I think because it's quoted about an hour and a bit, so we thought, well, plenty of time to sit here and talk to you, and apparently not, and we wanted to enjoy it while it was hot, frankly, which I think is reasonable after the day we've had.
Yeah.
So
I've only cried a little bit since then. All fucking over the place now. But yes, nice it is. So we were talking about the shit show that is the whole Boris Johnson coming to Dominic Cummings' defence. Right. It's kind of an extension on the stuff that I was bitching about yesterday, but that is so irresponsible and so dangerous. Like, that is essentially saying that we are going to throw all of the public health message that we've been working really hard to send over the last 8 weeks out the fucking window so that I can look after my mate, or, as I suspect, keep sweet my fucking puppet master.
It is. It's like we can't pretend that he hasn't broken the rules, so we will just change the rules to fit his behaviour.
But then that's going to change the rules for everybody else in the country, and there's 67 million of us.
Grant Shapps said a thing. He said,
I do sort of feel sorry for him.
Do you?
Yeah, only because I just thought of, like, who the fuck is Grant Shapps? And then suddenly it's like, right, you're doing today's briefing and you're doing the Andrew Marr show. Good luck, toodles. And it's just like, this man was not prepared.
He said,
he's still a dick, let me say, for the record, but I do sort of feel like he was a dick in headlights.
Well, he said that the guidelines are open to interpretation.
Oh, good. I'm going to interpret them. I'm not.
It's like I said yesterday. You can't. They're not really open interpretation, are they? Because, people can interpret them how they want. Okay, I'm going to interpret them. But I'm just going to hang out outside and hang out with people and mix with different households until the police issue a fine, and then suddenly it's not up to me to make my interpretation. But I mean, just him saying that though is almost more irresponsible than the behaviour he said it in defence of, because it just gives the word dangerous. Now people they can all go and
it is dangerous because I understand. I won't do it myself, but I understand now if a lot of people go, well, fuck this for a laugh, I'm gonna go see my mum. I'm going to go see my granddad. He's on his own. He's going fucking mental with isolation. I'm going to go and break the rules. I'm not going to go mad, but I am going to go and visit my loved one to, like, give them a bit of fucking respite from how horrible all of this is. I'm not going to do that myself because I'm trying to sort of rise above it and look at the bigger picture, but lots and lots and lots of people will, and I can't say I will blame them, because the message they are being sent is either there's one rule for us and it's a different one for you, and therefore I understand people fucking going against it, going, no, fuck you, if it's okay for you, it's okay for me, but unfortunately that does not think about the bigger picture, or it's basically giving people who are already sick of this shit and don't really think it's that serious essentially the green light to just go, oh, look, if they're doing it, I'm doing it, fuck it. So it's dangerous to two different swathes of people who are kind of already struggling, but doing their best. And up until now, I watched a really lovely thing. It was on Channel 4. I only saw the clip of it, so I don't actually know which programme it was on, but I will share the link in the blurb as per. But there was an interview with someone who I assume is sort of either a sociologist or a social psychologist, or possibly a historian, I'm not sure, but there was a chap being interviewed by Krishnan Guru Murthy, so therefore on Channel 4, and he was doing a really interesting sort of bit to camera about how there are parallels with what's going on now and the eve of World War II, and how the elite misjudge the populace based on their own ways of thinking. So back then, when sort of World War II was sort of on the horizon and sort of just before bombs were sort of going to start falling on Britain, the government and all of their advisors and all of their cronies kind of assumed that the British people were going to lose their shit, and that they weren't going to have enough resources because they were going to have the army on the streets to sort of deal with rioting and deal with looting from like bombed premises, and thought they were just like, there's no way we can handle this. What actually happened was the sort of the British spirit is what we thought it was at the time, is everybody kind of kept calm and carried on and did the best of it, and actually that lovely sort of gallows humour came out. Like he used the example of bombed out shops, and they'd put a sign outside of a shop that was bombed to bits that just said even more open than usual, and I love that shit. And so they saw all of this and they thought, well, this is brilliant, this is the Brits doing what Brits do, we're brilliant, we're so resilient and we're so brave, so what we're going to do is go and bomb Germany, because they won't stand, like they'll lose their shit because they're not British. And so they bombed the shit out of Germany, much worse than we got bombed over here. It is worth mentioning. Germany got it worse. I'm not saying they, I'm not saying who's right or wrong here, but we bombed them harder than they bombed us, but they did start it. Basically, same thing happened in Germany. All of the civilians and all of the real normal people sort of sucked it up, looked after each other, and carried on as best they could, because that's what people do in crisis. Normal, real people go, well, I don't have much, but you've got even less, and this is shit, so let's look after each other. And that is beautiful. But power corrupts, and the elite don't expect people to behave that way because it seems alien to them. They don't understand that. Why would you give stuff to your neighbour, particularly if you don't have much yourself? That's mad. And so they've kind of put all of this through their own skewed perspective, which is that everyone's out for themselves, and actually they're all probably breaking lockdown rules too, and I can do whatever I want and fuck them. And the thing is that they've misjudged that. Oh, just see my nails. I had nail varnish on yesterday, and I've picked them all off. They're fucked. Sorry, it was incredibly vain. I was just like, oh shit, what the fuck? Yeah, sorry, that's been me just nervously biting my own nails off. But yeah, so they're looking at the populace through their own twisted morality, and we don't, as a whole, work like that. For the most part, people do look after each other as a whole. Don't get me wrong, there are still cunts out there. Yeah, I think... Some
of you know who you are.
I don't think they do, actually.
Yeah, no, they probably think they're very nice.
Community spirit.
I think, yeah.
They've lost perspective. So now the fact that Boris is coming to the defence of Dominic Cummings is essentially saying to the people, we can justify our behaviour because we're important people. You have to do as we say, not as we do. And whilst I said yesterday, no shit sticks to Boris Johnson, I think he may have just steered the Titanic towards the iceberg, because I don't really see how he's going to get out of this one, because everybody across, other than the proper crazies, everybody's a bit pissed off to some extent. Some people are fucking fucking hell, I can't speak today. Apoplectic. Oh, you know what I'm trying to say.
They're pissed.
Pissed off. And at the other end of the scale, people are just sort of like, it doesn't quite, all right, well, I won't rock the boat, but don't push it. But everybody is kind of like, well, hang on, everybody has made sacrifices. Everybody has made big sacrifices, some bigger than others, and some of them have been to a heartbreaking extent. And some of the just day-to-day lives that people are going through at the moment are really fucking difficult. there are like, I won't bring personal examples because everybody's got plenty. But whether it's just little inconveniences or the fact that like one of my good friend's grandfather is on his own entirely, has had no human contact for 9 weeks now, and he's honestly he's sort of looking at life like his life's not worth living if he can't have the people around it, and that's meaningful and valid, and that's what I talk about when I talk about the mental health price of lockdown. And that is like, we should be looking after those people. And actually what I would perhaps do is have that if somebody is living on their own, they should be able to have one other person in their house for mental health purposes. Well, one person from my family should be able to visit my gran and sit with her and give her a fucking hug. I know that will have a tiny effect on slightly raising the transmissions, but if you're letting cleaners go into other people's fucking houses, then you might as well let like somebody who is let's say it was myself. I haven't left the house in weeks, other than to go to vet's appointments, which I wear a full mask, I sanitize my hands, I put the cat box in the fucking lobby, and then I leave. That's all I've done for the last 6 weeks. That's the only times I've left the house. I haven't walked the dog. The most I've done is sit in the garden. I could go and sit in my gran's house with no fear that I'm bringing anything into her other than literally the risk of that it could blow in on the breeze if somebody outside sneezed.
And the thing is...
And I can't do that. It's against the rules, so I'm not.
But if you have a lot of money and a big house, you can have a cleaner come and visit.
We could do with a cleaner coming to visit.
But you can have nannies come round and look after your kids for you, and they can just go back to their households, and that's fine. That's all fine, but you can't visit a lonely, isolated old person. And obviously we don't want to put people in more... That's the flip side of it, is these things are in place, not rules for the sake of rules, but because it's dangerous.
No, they're not doing it to be dicks. Which some of the conspiracy theorists do seem to think that they are. They're doing it to like break us, and I'm like, well, that's bonkers.
Lots of people shielding and looking after themselves, and the thing is, even like we've been really careful. People like us are taking it very seriously, but if people off the back of today's kind of statements and things have more of a fuck it attitude, that makes it more dangerous for me every time I go to the shops, every time I go to walk the dog, because I'm surrounded by more people who've been interacting with more people because of their fuck it attitude.
It raises the risk for everybody, regardless of how careful they've been, and you have to sort of, I won't condone it, but I will understand it. Like, I will. You're saying it's okay, and it's not like he just broke the rules a little bit. He fucked off across the country. Like, that's 250 miles. That's a 4.5 hour car journey with a 4-year-old. How many times do you think a 4-year-old needs to piss in 4.5 hours?
Apparently more than once as well.
Yeah, at fucking least more than once.
So the first trip you're justifying with the childcare. How do you justify the second trip at all?
You don't.
Like, he's been out for a walk in London, then he's out and walk in Durham again. It's utter nonsense. And Ellie, you raised a point I wanted to pick up on, because you were talking about your friend's granddad in isolation for 11 weeks. I know my nana has been on her own most of the time and just and isolating, hasn't had a hug off anyone in all this time, hasn't kind of seen people through the windows dropping off shopping. And I've talked before on this vlog about how never has there been a better time to be stuck in your own house, because there are streaming services, and there are smartphones and iPads and the internet and YouTube and all of these things, and games consoles. My nana doesn't have a Nintendo. My nana, and she hasn't even got a video or a DVD player anymore, but equally she can't work the kind of smart TV and record things and watch. She just has to watch kind of what's on at the time. She can't work.
Breaking my own rules.
She can't kind of do iPlayer. She can't do these things. She's kind of stuck with just the telly that's on and an occasional book, and it's hard for you to isolate. People have kind of put their lives on hold, and they're lonely and they're bored.
Yeah.
And I'd love to go and see her, but of course I can't go and see her. I call her quite often, and my dad calls her, I know, every day, and she's her daughter, my aunt, is in contact with her as well. But she's not getting proper interaction. She's bored a lot of the time. She's fed up, and she's stuck. And then people like
Dominic Cummings just going, well, I can do what I want. It is, and it's sending a dangerous message. Him doing it is a dick move. People defending it publicly and him not having repercussions for it is dangerous.
It is.
It's really dangerous.
I tell you one silver lining, the potential silver lining though, from all these people coming out and backing him rather than sacking him.
Yeah.
Is that that's good? It rhymed, didn't it? It's very clever.
It did.
Right, slick. But I don't mean
so
that.
professional.
Imagine I really thought that was clever. Imagine I was really impressed with myself for reals. But so the thing, because there's a lot of high-profile figures, people like Priti Patel, who have previously, in their high-profile government jobs, have been sacked, and they go away for sort of 6 months, a year, and then they get another high-profile government job
fucking secretary
in a cabinet reshuffle. Yeah, you couldn't
She got fired for having mysterious meetings with other countries that she didn't declare.
Yeah, you can do shit.
You don't get to be Home Secretary after that, but apparently you do.
And most people don't have the time to be engaged or remember all this stuff, so they prop back up, and you sort of vaguely know that they're a cunt. But
you can't remember why.
You can't remember why, but you're like, well, they're a Tory, of course they are. But I'm sure there's nothing more serious than that. And I think if Dominic Cummings had been sacked now, 6 to 12 months, he'd be back again in a different role, and because he's an advisor as well, you can kind of hire him back in a shadowy position or kind of demote him. You don't even need to do that very publicly. He'd still be back on the payroll very quickly, and influencing all stuff. Whereas coming out and defending him and not sacking him, hopefully people respond to this so negatively that it really affects Boris Johnson's popularity and
careers. I hope. Well, I think I can't. I'm not even willing to make predictions on any of this actually when it comes to how the government are going to handle, because it seems to be slipping more into a fucking fascist dictatorship, because this is not a man who is behaving in the interests of the people.
And it felt that way before lockdown, by the way.
Yeah.
We're not just saying, because we have to stay in our homes, it's fascist now. No, they were.
No, if anything, our inability to now riot makes it feel even more fascist.
But it was edging in that direction anyway, and actually the lockdown, we're not. Saying the lockdown is fascist, we're not complaining about that.
No.
It's just come at a weird time.
But I just sort of feel like there is a sense of we can do what we want, and fuck you all if you're angry about it. But there's only so many people. What are you laughing at?
Just, we can do what we want and fuck you all if you're angry about it.
Well,
It's a very common attitude these days, isn't
it? But yeah, that seems to be the attitude, and hopefully enough people, because actually what I sort of think is more likely is I don't think public opinion's really going to do the job on its own, but I think there are enough savvy people within the Tory party that are going to go, I don't want my name anywhere near any of this shit. I can see how this is going. I can see the hole in the side of the ship, and I'm getting in a fucking lifeboat. Fuck you all. There is a cat licking my foot. It is very distracting, but it's quite cute. He can sense I'm sad. And hopefully there's enough pressure from other people within the ranks to just be like, nah, this can't stand. This can't be okay. Matt fucking Hancock coming out in support of it. You're the fucking health secretary. Just keep your mouth shut. I know you're not going to actually be like a decent, strong-willed human being with a mind of your own. So I don't expect you to actually condemn him, because Boris won't like it, and you're an idiot, and you're a twat, and you're a little sycophantic idiot. Idiot twice. I'm not bright enough or on form enough to come up with a better insult than that, but you're a twat. Alright, you don't have to stand up to it, but don't fucking... You're the health secretary. You're the person who is saying what is good for the health of the country right now, and you're saying basically, if you're a bit worried that the weekend after next you might not have childcare because you might be pulling a double shift, tell you what, get your wife to go off up in the car up to I don't know, Northampton, to visit your auntie for a nice weekend because it's allowed now.
Matt Hancock, you are a boil on the side of an infected foreskin. How's that?
That's pretty good.
All right, cool.
It's pretty good.
That'll do.
Yeah. So what a shower of shit. So yeah, I do to sort of bring things back around because we're not saying anything new or groundbreaking on this because actually I think a lot of the country is on our page about this because it just like when people have personally made sacrifices and you do the opposite and you're in government, it does piss on everybody's sacrifices. Everybody has gone without, everybody has put themselves out to try their best. And when you don't do that, and then when that gets defended by the people in power, that sort of gives the impression that they're also thinking that they can do whatever they like as well. And it's a them and us situation, and that can go fuck itself hard with implements, and not for fun. It's just that can fuck off. So yeah, we're not saying anything new, and I don't think we're being particularly groundbreaking with our discontent about it, but that's been the backdrop to today's mental health catastrophe. And hopefully tomorrow my skin will be thicker, I will be feeling more resilient and better able to have okay, fine. Oh, apparently you're just being a cunt, so I can just deal with that then, fine. Okay. Because, yeah, some people are just cunts. Dominic Cummings and Boris Johnson and all of their cronies prove it.
Join us tomorrow when we will be kicking against the pricks again some more.
There's no shame in it.
There's no shame in it. Like and subscribe.